comes Hurst. He's got some people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is now.
1966. England are World Cup winners. The Beatles and the Rolling Stones top the music charts. Irish farmers are on strike, while Nelson's pillar is struck down. Cork are hurling champions. Galway win 3 in a row. And in a small area of North County Louth, a club is born, or more to the point, reborn.
In 1938, there was a St. Malachy's here at that time. And that St. Malachy's went on for 10 years anyhow. Chairman at that time was Hughie Casey. The secretary was Mickey McShane. And the other man was Johnny New, who was a national teacher here in Sheila. We have a membership card at that time, and it was 2 shillings membership at that time.
Playing in their now familiar red and white jerseys, St Malachy's plied their trade in 2 venues in the Sheila area.
They played in Rasson, but they also played down on the Bog Road, as they call it, in a field. There was a man in this area called Paddy McCarroll, lived in this area and played for the Malachy's, but he moved to RD at that way back and played for St Mary's, but he also played for Louth. And he also played for Leinster for a lot of years. A great player.
St Malachy's were to last for approximately 1 decade before the establishment of a new team, a team that would contribute to Louth's All-Ireland success of 1957.
Those Sheila Emmets came in then, and that was about 1954, I'd say, you know. And they were here for a number of years too. But they were a great team, a lot of great players. You had Jack Regan, Tom Regan, Jim Regan, Jerry Agnew, Seamus Agnew, Brian Garvey, Matt Fee, Tom Fee, Tom Kirk, Kevin Kirk, all great players. But at that particular time, the work was scarce, there was no work, and a lot of them men moved off to America, and there was another man there, a man called Johnny Rogers, great player, super player, played on that Louth team of 57, and he went to America. So did Malachi Rogers and Jimmy McMahon. They all went to America in 1957, so they did. And in fact, the day that Louth played the All-Ireland, they were getting off the boat in New York that same day, that Sunday.
Louth were not the only team thriving in the late 50s and early 60s.
As I went to Sheila School and we played all our football there, and we had a great bunch of players there. That good that we won the league in my 3 years with them, and I was also part of the North Louth team. It was picked from all the schools in North Louth, which we won as well, you know. And there was brilliant footballers, brilliant young lads at school, and its Courtbane school was the same. Won everything before us and that. So then we left the Sheila School, and unfortunately we had no club to go to.
The need and want for a club became apparent, perhaps even over a game of cards.
In April and May of '66, Waters' shop was a meeting point at that time. And you'd have a lot of people going there to play cards at night. You had Patsy Waters, Oni McCarroll, different people all around locals, and the chat came up about starting a football team here. There was no football being played here, because the men that was here, some of them played for Roach and some played for Kilkerley. So Peter Hoy was in Kilkerley at that time, but there was some bit of a mix-up anyhow, and Peter decided he'd come down here. So Patsy Waters and Peter, and they all decided, it took a bit of time, that they were having the meetings in Waters' shop, but then they decided they'd have a meeting in the school.
It was well attended. Probably not more curiosity than people who was interested in football. But at the end of the day, we got it set up. After a couple of meetings, we got a committee set up and the formation of the club. Artie Mooley, Lord of Mersham, was elected chairman. Peter Hoy was secretary. I was assistant secretary. Bernard Waters, Lord of Mersham, was treasurer. I was informed that we couldn't call it St Malachy, it had to be in Irish. So then we went for it in Naomh Malachi.
We played our home matches in Rasson. Well, that's where the football was played in the 50s there too. And there was a family lived around here, the Begleys, and they're still here as good as ever. And there was a man called Jem Begley, Jem and Larry and Rose, they lived together. They weren't married, and we approached them anyhow, and Jem said, no problem. So we made an agreement with Jem that we'd give him £25 for the year. But he might have got 125, but there was very few 25s he got, but he never said nothing. Jem took it all well, and I'm glad there's a picture down here of Jem down here in the hall from them days, long gone, but we didn't forget him.
Well, when we started off in 67, we played in Jem Begley's field, and it was difficult because we hadn't played football from we left school, and conditions were poor. We slipped along the ditch in the February, so the snow, and nowhere to hide or go. You know, in the early stages we were getting very bad beatings, and it was very disheartened, but we kept at it, and we plugged away, and as years slipped by we got better.
We would have been playing probably 6-7 games before we even scored. The man that scored the first point for us, he was a butcher like myself out in Dundalk. He was from Dundalk, Naomh Minto. So he has the record of scoring the first goal for Naomh Malachi on the lower goals into Artie Moley's house, if you remember at the time. That's the first goal, I'll always remember that. The very first team we won at the club was against the Gales, it did in the Ramparts. Kevin Martin would get the ball and he could run the whole length of the field, and he wouldn't be blowing for some reason, but he must have run about 40 yards with the ball. And I don't know whether he finished it or someone did, but it won the game for us anyhow. And the Gales went mad. And we was like winning our Leyland toss it out that night in the Ramparts. It was our first win.
My first recall of really good was in 1970. We played the Finbars in a relegation battle. It was a draw. The Finbars was a good team at the time. We were very disappointed. Replay was put on. We ended up at full time draw at the replay, so we went extra time. Now I was a back, full back. I played a lot, full back and half back, and I actually scored 2 goals to win the game for the Naomh Malachi to save the relegation battle.
There was very little training. Once you had 15 and you were competing, we were happy, you know. But time passed and things improved and we got better, you know. But it didn't happen overnight. It just took the time, and maybe we'd pick up an odd player here and there along the lane, but it was all for the good of the club.
Off the field of play, the club were active too, fundraising for a newly emerging team.
Around here we had no hall to go to. All there was the school. So you couldn't run a dance in the school. So we ran a few dances in Glasdrum Hall. Now, the average run was 15 to 20 pound we'd make. But 15 or 20 pound you could do a lot with at that time, you know. You had very little to buy. If you bought one set of jerseys down the year, maybe done 2 or 3 years, and you bought one purple, that was it. And you were happy with that. So we carried on then just for like that for maybe 5 or 6 years, and then things started improving, and then the Begleys and a few other people started to come into the pitch, and Jerry Murphy and Jerry McElroy and a few of the Rogerses. You had the Woodses, Morris MacDonald from Dundalk and Brendan Waters. You know, they were all good players, you know.
Players like that, you know, that fit in nicely with the play we done, and that, you know, and it suited the game that, you know, done, and we getting results then we probably wouldn't get before that, you know, results we didn't expect we'd get, that, you know.
Then in 75 we got to the Broadleaf Final Cup, and we played O'Mahony's in the Clans, which was a tough game, a game that never was finished. The cup was awarded to the O'Mahony's, but it went down in history anyway. So then the following year we met the Blues in the first round of the championship in RD, and the Blues thought it was only a matter of form of coming down, and we beat the Blues in the first round of the championship, and it was like winning the Joe Ward Cup.
Father Sweeney came in. All I remember standing up there on that hill, and Eamon Lafferty and Brendan Lynch, Lord of Mesham, the whole lot were standing talking as usual, and Peter Beatty and Hughes Beatty, and who's that new priest? Oh, I was looking at him like this, and he came walking around the side, and he lit a fag, and he stood there, and I was, Jesus, I'm about to go down to him, and I went over to him, and he had sandals on and no socks, And went on to say, and he says, "You have a wee football team, I say. If you'd call it that, we've done. I must come to see you. Say we're playing the night up in Saban. Oh, well, come up." He ended up playing the goals.
But he was a brilliant man. He put a great buzz into this area, all into the whole Shield area, apart from football, to the youth club, for everything. A brilliant man. And he set the bar high, and we played along with him. And what we have today, we owe a lot of it to Father Sweeney.
We got players back. We got Tom Murphy back, Tom Conlon back. Got a couple of good players from the dog. Brendan Waters, Buster McGee. Then we got Felix Mulholland back down to us, and we really took off then. We were a club then.
The development of the club from the 60s through to the 70s and the deployment of Father Sweeney to the Sheila area, and in particular the bingo and carnivals at McShane's Cross and Finn's Field, gave the community a great lift. However, there were unfortunately some sad days.
We did enjoy it and that, but enjoyed playing. But then the first blow came to us when Pat Kieran was killed, God rest him. We lost him, which is a big blow and very sad, But then the next tragedy was a great friend of mine, worked with him, socialised with him, were very close, and he played the type of football I played, was pure Padder Boylan, It was very tough. Now, it was hard to take.
The latter end of the 70s saw an improvement in the Malachy's fortunes and resulted in the historic year of 1979.
79 was our year. We were after winning the Winter League. We had Jerry Murphy and Brendan Begley centre field. Now, them two particular men were centre field, I'd say, for 10 to 12 years, and there was nobody to take their place. Two brilliant players.
Brendan Begley and Jerry Murphy, and later Peter Rogers and Declan Woods, recall the memories of 79.
It was the training below in it.
Exactly.
Oh, Lord bless us and save us. Was it Harrow? Oh.
In 79.
In 79. Running around that field, the size of it. I think this was big here. And down at the back of the hill, nettles.
The nettles.
And trestles. And carrying men up that hill on your back.
We changed our attitude as players. We changed it we were more professional than we were before that. Before that, we would think nothing of Saturday night going out and having a few points before a game, which wouldn't make much difference to us. But we changed it. Jerry Shields came in that year training, 79, and we did train very hard over in Larry Begley's field.
There was just about 10 or 12 of our own players came at that time.
That's right.
There was two or three Rogers, 2 or 3 Woodses, maybe 4 Woodses. There was 2 or 3 Murphys.
Same with the Begleys.
Same, that's right. And there was a few other players as well. We had
Jerry McElroy.
You had Jerry McElroy. You had Morris McDonald.
Another man.
Martin McGee. Brandon Waters. All good players. All
great players. And you had Sean Riley there.
Sean Riley is right.
Sean was only a young lad.
He was very young.
And we had Felix.
Felix
Mulholland.
As well. And then we got Tom Murphy, Tom Conlon back. And that was the turning point.
The turning point in the old days.
Experience on both sides there. Thomas and Tom Murphy from Roche had experience there, and Felix Mulholland went in skiing, Patsy Shields across. So that blended the whole thing together. Now we all fit into that.
Everything went well in the championship that year. We had 4 or 5 good wins at start and went to the final of Intramiskin.
Never there before. Didn't know what to expect. Big crowd. Game would not be a classic.
No, by any means.
We didn't care.
Once
we had the Christy Belly Cup home.
The man in my mind that stood out that day was
Patsy
Shields.
He came on board as well that year.
And he scored points from the corner flag that day. So
he scored 4 points, but Patsy was after playing in several finals. The cross.
That's right.
It was our first final, and probably nerves played a big part in it as well. But the result was right. That's all that matters. And for a few weeks afterwards,
right.
we enjoyed ourselves.
We did.
The joy of winning the Christy Bellew Cup in '79 was somewhat dampened by the lack of the club's own grounds.
I always remember coming down the road with the cup. Me and Begley was standing out with the can at lashing rain, and I said, Jesus, Brandon, isn't it terrible we've nowhere to go?
The word was from Croke Park that every club would have to have their own pitch, you know. So we decided we'd have a look around.
Me and Laffy were going around and we're down on Ras and whatever, and all of a sudden this became available.
There was a lady down on the Ras Road, Kathleen McNew, and she had these 2 fields here. So Father Sweeney was the man to approach. But Father Sweeney was like God, so he wouldn't say no to her.
She gave it to him. She wouldn't give it to me or anybody else. You know,
he had a way with him. He had, he had a charisma. You just loved him. You know, you'd go to the ends of the earth for him. You know, whatever Father Sweeney wanted done, you would do it like.
Well, there was a wee bit of a hitch in it too. The agreement was £12,000. But of course some of the farmers around this area, they had a bit of an interest in the fields as well. So they said one field would do them. But we still stuck to our guns. Now we give a bit more. It finished up, we had to give 19,000 for the 2 fields. But we bought them and it was the best investment, and Courtbane became our home. We had to go then and look for the 19,000 because we had very little, but we had a few pound, and we done a £10 draw. Now there wasn't that many £10 draws going on, but we done one and it was very successful, and the people of the area really put their hands in their pockets, and we got £10,000 out of that first draw. And with a few other little things going, we managed to get the £19,000 paid.
Father Sweeney was a great man here to raise money, so he got a couple of carnivals going there, and we used to sell tickets there during the bingo that was on every Sunday, and it was for a wee portable television, and Bernard Finnegan and Brendan Begley, Eamon as well there, they used to come in loaded with coins in their pockets after going round, make about £400 profit, and the television wouldn't be the size of a matchbox.
And then we decided we'd have to develop. Now, the paddy buggy came here and turned the sod for us, and Paddy Kenny was chairman of the Louth County Board at that time. Both were here. Paddy Buggy was down in Monaghan, and the word come that he was in Monaghan that he'd come to here, so he came here.
A lot of the committee was here. It was on a Monday morning, and it was an historic occasion, all right. The sod was turned up there on the 21-yard line, Paddy Buggy, and it was a big achievement to get that far so quick.
With the sod turned and a new pitch developed in Courtbane, Naomh Malachi had a new home to play football in, and up first was a crucial league encounter in 1984, as described here by Brendan Begley and Jerry Murphy.
The most important game I say the Malachi's played here was probably their first one.
Without a doubt.
It was a relegation battle against
the O'Connells
on Saturday evening, and it was the loser was relegated.
John Rogers picks it up. John Rogers toes the hand, gets his kick in eventually, in towards Paul Matthews. Paul Matthews going to knock it on towards Sean Moley. This is his second chance of the match. He must score a goal, and he has scored a fine goal by Sean Moley.
It was a good game. The Connells had a big hero on their team that, and Stephen White was an up-and-coming player. I have to say, we had a man on the team, Martin Rogers, who showed him what football was all about, and we beat them. I don't know what the score was now, but we beat them. That was it.
It was a relegation game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a relegation as well, yeah.
Yeah.
We won it on Chapel's App.
I think we had Pete Lennon playing that time, hadn't we? Pete was playing that time. I think Pete could win and goal, I think, for that time, you know. The seal victory wasn't then, you know. But Stephen White naturally was a big player at the time, you know. He was the man we dreaded, you know. He probably had a chance himself, you know, to win it at one stage.
I do remember at the very end, it was touch and go. I think there was a point or two in it, and a long ball came out of the square, about, well, maybe a little bit further out than the square, and probably man of the match, Stephen White, was first to it, but I went out to block him, and let's say I won the day. He had a go with it, and he fisted it over the bar instead of taking me on.
League survival secured, the focus turned to matters off the pitch for a time with the development of the club complex.
One day I was in Dublin and I called into Croke Park. And they didn't know me from a crow, who I was or who I was not. But they said, I told them we never got any grant money from the field. So I asked them how much of a grant were we going to get. So they said 5,300. Great. So I came home anyhow and we done a bit of. There was a man called Pat Noonan. He's still living, and a Cork man, so he was. But I got in touch with him, and he drew up a few plans. So he did, and I brought it to the committee, and they looked at it. Now they just didn't run away with the idea straight away. It took a bit of time, but we got them all focused on it, and we decided this is it. So we knew we were getting the 5,300, and we had a wee bit of maybe 1,000 or two as well. So we decided it was going to cost about £7,000 to put the frame of it standing. So that's what we done. We got the frame standing, and then we bought a few blocks, and it was all voluntary work. Other than putting up the frame, we had to pay that man, but the rest was done voluntary. So, you know, you could do an awful lot with a couple of £1,000 that time. It all worked out bit by bit.
There was very little money paid out to anyone working here for doing any work. Maybe nowadays it's different, everyone wants to get paid nowadays, but then that time everyone was new to try and get a feel for yourself.
We had great support from all our locals, let them be brickies or carpenters or helpers, whatever the case may be, they were here every Saturday and every evening.
Despite the development, Eamon does look back with some regret.
There was so much going on, like trying to build the club, that we should have probably have put more into the football. It's one of my regrets, you know, because you're trying to develop a field and develop a complex. I suppose if I had a second chance at it, I would have done it maybe slightly different. You know, it's one of the regrets I have. We should have won more because we had a great team.
While the club was developing off the field of play, the team on it were experiencing some agonising championship defeats.
Came very close to actually making the breakthrough, but on a number of occasions we just lost matches by 1 point. Remember the Sean McDermott's in 86 and 87. You know, we were so close to Oliver Plunkett's in 84, you know, just lost by a point. So we were very close. So I suppose there was a feeling around the place in 88 that this was our last chance, because quite a number of the players, you know, were probably coming to their best years, and from then on it would be downward. So a big effort was made. We brought in John Jones from Cardiff to manage the team. So it's the management team that year consists of myself, Eamon Lavery, and Father Sweeney, along with John Jones.
In the first round, the Mals faced the much fancied Sean O'Mahony's in the Clans.
We were winning by 3 points. I think it was McLaughlin from the Sean O'Mahony's, who one of those big lob balls around the square, and he fisted it into the corner. And, I mean the right angle of the net. But I can remember reading the Democrat the following Saturday, and the big headline was "Aidan saves the day." You can remember that. Who's that? Aidan who? Yeah, whatever.
In the quarter-final, the Mals would overcome St Moctus before a titanic struggle against the Joes in the semi-final. After 2.5 games, they finally got the better of the men from Dromiskin, as described here by Brendan Begley.
We beat the Joes in the semi-final after 2.5 games. 2 very tough, hard games. First game ended in a draw. The second, it went to extra time, plus 6 minutes of added time. Don't know where that came out of. But with a few goals and a couple of great saves from the red fella, it got us over the line.
We beat them. I think the referee gave us more than what we were entitled to.
then leading up to the final, lots of excitement because it was our first final in nearly 10 years and only the second in the club's history. So with the newspaper reporters out and the photographers out, so a great build up to it.
Yeah, I remember the 88 final. I remember the first time seeing a video recorder. Brian McLaughlin came down from Ballybin with Castles, and he had a video recorder, small wee, well it was a big, I'm sure I've never seen one of them before in life. Yeah. And he videoed. I knew something big was happening that day when a man came down with a camera, RTE on tour. Then I remember going to the game. I don't know how we got up that day. What the hell done? I remember all the people in the concert, everybody knew the concert was there. And they all had just red and white hats. Red and white hats. Cardboard, paper, red and white hats. Something you never see now. You know they're all.
I think Naomh Malachi still has that.
Louth into Mickey Me, yes, first point. Jerry short to Kevin Begley. Kevin, hey, ball in the square, and it's in the net, Up he comes. Hey, it's good, it's straight, and it's over. Louth drops it, but Kevin Begley retreats it and gets a good point. Came almost up.
The Malachis would suffer a 1-point defeat in the encounter with Naomh Martin, as outlined here by Jerry Murphy.
The old enemy, the Martins, got their revenge, and again it was a 1-point defeat. And to make matters worse, we had a chance at the end. We had the chance of drawing it, but it just wasn't to be. We didn't take it. We had enough chances during the game to win it anyway.
Despite the agonising defeat, Jerry Murphy and Eamon Laverty remain magnanimous towards the victors from Monaster Boys.
But we didn't begrudge the Martins either. They were a good bunch of lads and we got on well with them, both on and off the field.
It was a game that we should have won, but we were beaten by a point. But there's one thing we did learn got from that was it was a relationship with the Martins that's here today. It's 28 years ago, and that friendship is still there. And we had the Martins had to do 3 years ago for 25 years, and we were all invited up. So that's the relationship we had with the Martins ever since.
The 1989 championship campaign would be short-lived, but the team were made of sterner stuff as they began their quest for glory in 1990 against the men from Phillipstown.
We beat the Kevins in the first round in Bellingham. They would have been one of the fancy teams to win the intermediate that year. Then we beat Dunleer by 2 points in the quarter-finals in Bellingham again. And we beat Hunterstown in the semi-final. Another team that would have fancied their chances, but we beat them.
We played the Joes in the final. Now the Joes weren't a bad team. They had a lot of good talent, a lot of county men playing, and there was a man called Jimmy McDonald. The father played on the Louth team in '57, and the son was playing with the civil service in Dublin. And the Joes being the Joes, they snaked him down the road, and he played that day for them.
A windy day in Louth Village didn't help, but the Malachis had slightly the better of proceedings in the opening half.
There goes to Jerry Murta. Jerry kicks, and that's it, Malachi's first point.
Gogarty, number 5. Gogarty still soloing, heading out towards the wing. Kicks, looks good. Lovely kick. About 40 yards, straight over the bar.
With the square when it now has a Jerry Murta. Jerry kicks. It's gone over the bar, that's the equaliser.
Jerry Murphy. About 30 yards out, still soloing. Tackled by David Mulligan. Jerry Murphy taps to his left foot and it's over the bar. Blocked out. Nigel Munnan runs it. Number 10. Naomh Malachi, is this the lead? Yes, this is the lead for Naomh Malachi. Brendan Begley. Brendan Begley kicks it, and it's another point for Naomh Malachi.
I do remember, every time I looked up, the ball, a man behind the goals going like waving his arms wide, wide, wide. No, I'm not blaming anybody. But Jesus, I don't know how many wides we kicked that day. It was wide after wide. It was a windy day now, I remember that alright. It was a windy day. Bobbin mocked us in the Loud Village.
With 36 minutes played and the Courtbane men 1 point to the good, the Mals were dealt a blow.
So we're now 6 minutes into the second half, and Naomh Malachi are leading 8 points to 1-4. Michael Morgan takes the kick out of his hands.
One of the turning points in the game, I think, was when there was a clash between Paul McCann goals and Kevin Begley. Kevin had to go off. He was playing awful well. And Jerry Murta was after scoring 3 points in the first half. It disrupted our game. It was really anyone's game. It wasn't a classic or anything like that. But just the second half seemed to drift away from us.
Following Kevin Begley's departure and Jerry Murta's move to the back line, the Joes grew in confidence, and even more so they took the opportunities that presented themselves, as Brendan Begley and Jerry Murphy discuss.
The Joes were a strong team too. They had the Mulligans there, and a few young lads were back from America. They were strong enough outfit, but again, we left it behind us.
We had enough chances to win the game that day. We didn't take our chances. They did, and they won. That's the difference.
This is great tackling, you know, believe it or not. Yes, a great goal! Great goal, Martin Mulligan.
John Fox, Noel Mulligan's under it, and Noel is through. Will Noel get it up? Yeah, oh yeah!
No, the Joes were maybe that wee bit more experienced than us, and I think their training methods and the way they passed the ball and the way we didn't, you know, those days we tend to hoof it.
St Joseph's are the 1990 intermediate winners by a score of 3 goals and 8 points to 7 points for St Malachy's. To 11 points, sorry, to St Malachy's.
They had a couple of great players too. Alan O'Connor had a great game, I remember that. And Daisy Mulligan. Them boys would be solid.
Mulligan, you know, there was men all touching county stuff. And
they knew what they were at.
So that reach ahead of us. There had to be a fight if we were
To compound matters, the club would also lose out in the DMP Shield final to St Kevin's, and although the club reached 2 intermediate football championship finals in 3 years, an ageing team meant they couldn't build on it.
After the 1990 final, some of the lads faded away. It was kind of changing of the guard. Some of the older lads were retiring. Some of the young bucks were coming onto the scene gradually, year after year.
For the early 90s, the club would survive in a small squad that included some local players, aided by the 3 Dailies from Drummondtee, the Coonies from Dundalk, Michael Mee, Mickey Joe Hughes, Barney Murphy and Malachi McShane, to name but a few. At the same time, though, a younger team was emerging from the grassroots.
Probably the 80s with me when we started off. There was good people over us, so there was Mick, Gene Martin, Bernard Finnegan, me, Earlman, Tom O'Loughlin, so there was good people around. There was also a fella in Francie Thornton, I think his name was Killarney, and he actually used to do training with us, which was probably way ahead of what other clubs would have been doing now, or even we're doing now at our underage. That training would have been done with him, so he was very good. I remember the first game we ever played was under 12, but I think me and Rory, it was 13 aside out in Mahavenamore. I think me and Rory might have been 8, and we were just battered around the place. So that's my earliest memory playing football with the Malachis.
But then we had that sort of run of games against Killarney. Again, I couldn't tell you how often they were.
Yeah, it seemed like every Saturday.
It seemed like it was a regular thing. But it's just the whole adventure of going over to Killarney and a load of yokes, and we didn't know where Killarney was. It might have well been down in Kerry. But
maybe 20 of us in two yokes, Gene Martin, and everybody would pick up people at the house. And
yeah. And then there'd be a load of lollies on the way home up in Waters's or some shop. There'd always be some bit of a reward, but maybe that was dependent on wins.
Yeah.
Underage amalgamations with Kilkerley Emmets would provide much needed football for a growing number of players in the locality, and the dedication and volunteerism of the mentors.
suppose up in Kilkerley, underage, there used to be a gang of us used to go up in Jerry Mack's blue van team and subs and all. Away we go.
I remember well picking up Benny Collin, Mickey Kane, Colin McLaughlin, Bellabin for Cross. Then I'd go over to Taverna Moore. There'd be two other fellas there, Ronan Lynch and Declan Leanahan. And then the biggest load of ours when we got to Hanavaki, you'd see Jerry Hamill and Colin Murta, with their heads peeping out between two bigger fellas looking out. They wouldn't even count them. They were two great players at that time.
Come on, Jerry! Go for it! Over the left, good shot! On the fire! Clear one, fine! Stand him up!
Keith Rogers and Gary Rogers, Aidan McCarroll, Garrett Wills, that's just named but a few of them, all into the van and all away, and no one cared whether we won or whether we didn't. Once they were all happy coming back, that's all they wanted, and no one got hurt in it. We had great memories, the whole of us together. Then I was in with them up minor and up to under 21.
The large numbers of pupils at Sheila National School at the time would provide the platform for these underage teams.
I suppose mine was probably the first of the big classes in Sheila School. We used to have good enough school teams, and then that worked the way up. The club had a full under 15 team when I was under 15, so that's probably the last time we fielded a full underage team as a club. We had 3 classes coming behind there, the likes of Collie, Murta, Eddie Lafferty, they were the class directly behind me. You're down to Ding, yourself, Keith, in the class after that, so we had a fairly good lot of young players coming through at the one time there through the school.
We had a memorable battle in the Malachi's field against Cooley at that stage. I think we certainly put it up to them. We had some good players who have since passed away, unfortunately. Declan Leanahan and Keith Rogers playing that day, I remember.
All walked the way up to minor level there. Probably the team of 93, 94 minor was a very strong team when we joined with Kilkerley. Got to the semi-final in Louth Village. I'm still reminded about that infamous miss up there, so I may as well mention it before someone else does. I think that year or the year after, we also had a good under-21 team. You were on the minor team, Rory, and you were on the under-21 team. That's the same year, was that 94?
94 we got to the under-21 final, yeah.
At the same time, some of the younger players were beginning to force themselves onto the senior side, albeit during tough footballing times for the team, who flirted with relegation on numerous occasions.
Really from 90 to, we'd say, 96, 97, it was much like relegation battles all the way. Yeah. You know, almost every year.
When I started back in 1990, there was only me and Jerry Murta was the younger on the team. Then I think Paddy Leanahan started the year after that, but it was great then. I think Rory and who else would have started too?
Mickey Murta.
Fra and Mickey Murta. Like for training and having the numbers just kept building then. That was 93, and then you came in 94.
Myself and Mark Megan and Caoga
95.
coming through.
So you had a great crowd at training, even though things was a young, inexperienced team.
Great.
There was times, there was games. Like I remember, we only scored a point, and we sort of celebrated that. Like it was great to get that sort of result. But it was good. You could see that there was a great crowd about, and it was all your mates that you were training with and playing with. So there was sort of a change at that time, like in the mid-90s.
Yeah, it was probably hard going in them years too, and it was probably character form and stuff for all them boys. Good to stick with it. Like when you get to the point then when maybe you're winning something, it all means more. It's like the old American expression about the hurt locker there, you know. It was bulging.
One of the relegation battles was the Kevins. My recollection of it was I think we needed a draw that day to stay up at least. And the record says that it was a 45 that Mark Ugly put over to save the game, but Mark says it was inside our own half. So
80 out
we'll have to go on Mark says.
From the side.
From a championship perspective, things weren't much better.
In 91, I think we were betting the championship. 92, 93, we had a win against the Sean McDermott's. Mickey Murta will always tell you about his famous win, kick of a point. And then we were beaten in the next round. We were hammered against the Islanders. And then I think we had 6 years then where we didn't win a game in the championship. And it probably was that, say, 88 and 90 were sort of finishing up like Brendan Begley, Martin Rogers, Declan Woods, all that gang was sort of finishing. We were sort of coming through when we were nearly too young at the start, so it was a fairly young team. And it took really until maybe towards the mid to late 90s where Ding, Collie Murta, Jerry Hamill, Mickey Kane, that sort of gang were coming through again to give the earlier boost of myself, maybe the three dailies. Mickey Murta was there on that team, and then the boost of them younger gang coming through 4 or 5 years later. You could see it slowly improving towards the late 90s, and then obviously in the early 2000s when we started to have a success. But there was definitely a few lean years. And
there would be some memorable games, particularly against the men from Phillipstown.
The memorable games are the games against the Kevins. I think it was 90. Yeah. That was 94. We had 3 games against the Kevins. Saga, we should have won. I think the first one. We were winning by 3 or 4 points, and Rory fell and broke his hand, didn't he?
Yeah.
And went off, and they come back. We gave away a penalty. John Rogers, don't want to blame him.
No, yeah, that was.
John gave away a penalty in that one. That was the first game, and the second game we were winning well enough. I think they came back in the third game we did defeated. So if we had to win one of them games, you'd never know what to run. And then obviously the other memorable game is the other Kevin's game is the Joey Mine affair. You were sent off as usual. That would be 90s.
I was unfortunate.
As usual. That would have been 90s. Was that 96, was it?
Yeah.
96. So like that good game goes down in history, and that we had 3 men sent off. And we were still only beaten by, was it a point in the end?
Magoo hit the post at the end to draw it up.
All I remember is that just Thomas was giving us a good talk in the dressing room, and I remember thinking we're going to do this, and I came out at half time, I sent half back, and I was marking 2.
We had people like Colin McIllarney coming to train the Malachies, then following on from that we had John Fee, Frank McDermott, Eamon Coleman made an appearance a few times as well. So with people like that, the setup appeared to get more professional, especially towards the late 90s.
We kept going, and probably started getting good enough league results, and probably worked up as far as 98 was when we started to see we could win things. We'd got the 2 finals that year, wasn't it? The old DPM Shield final and the league final.
A lot of the teams was aging teams. A lot of the Kevins was an old team. The Talonstown was an old team. We were sort of coming we had the youth with us, I think, at that stage, and we were starting to get the better of these teams. Like all teams do have their periods. I think our time was coming. I remember a particular playing Talonstown in that final in 98, and a lot of old men, the Sheridans and them. We were young at the time.
That's what Magoo told you, man. Sheridan.
Yeah,
and dig you up from.
The Feckins had Squaddy and them boys. They were older men. We were young at the time. But we probably had the barren years behind us. Some of them teams after us dropped down to junior and was there for a while. But I think that was the start for 98.
The McGahan Cup win would prove to be the first silverware for this developing team, but it came with more than a tinge of sadness, with the club losing cornerback Declan Lenihan to illness that same year.
In 1998, we lost Declan Lenihan. That somewhat pulled a lot of us together. Sort of gives us a bit of cop on. Life's not going to go on forever. And we get to the McGahan Cup final in the Gales, and we won it. And look at, there mightn't have been mad celebrations that year because we lost Declan, but it was a nice tribute, winning the cup for him. There were tough times, no doubt about it. Don't forget, there was a lot of young lads in the team at the time, his mates, his teammates.
In the midst of an evolving team of players, the club were also developing off the field in the lead up to their official opening in the year 2000.
In 1999, we decided that we'd open the pitch in 2000. Well, we knew at the time we needed another 2 dressing rooms. So, because the other 2 was a bit on the small side, so we decided we'd build 2 new ones. So we built the 2 ones and built a new kitchen, and we started that job at Christmas. And we had it finished the 14th of May. That was the day we opened the pitch.
That day was a lovely day, weather-wise great. Place packed. Armagh was going pretty well that time. And Laird was going fairly well that time. So the game was played out here.
Seamus Alders was the man, he was the chairman of the Leinster Council. And we invited Paddy Buggy back, which I was delighted to see him come back. Paddy made a speech that day and he always emphasised that it's your home. And I never forgot that.
Victory in the 2000 Grogan Cup would give the club renewed hope for championship glory. However, defeats that year to St Kevin's in the semi-final and 12 months later to the Finbars would stop the club in its tracks. That was until 2002 and a new management set up.
And the first time I met Michael McConnell was here at the players' meeting. I was introduced to him and Declan Thomas was there and we had about 25-30 players in the room. And Michael kind of laid down his way he was going to plan the year out. And what was supposed to be done, when the attitude to would come into play. Just brought it to a new level. I think the players just needed that extra bit of a push on to go out and win something, like something big. There was a good bunch of players there, And I think he pushed that wee bit forward,
I'd say we had a bit of expectation about ourselves, that we should need to be going and winning something big at that stage. I suppose you were getting to walk in, you had Declan Woods and Peter Rogers, Thomas Conlon involved from the coaching side there too, or selectors. Just had a lot of knowledge of all them boys, I suppose, to work with them for years.
There was a whole new management team in which give things a boost. Plus the squad got an injection with Aidan Murphy, Darrell Green, Pete McShane, Ronan Green, Stephen Bourne. So there was a great boost of 4 or 5 top class players pushing the boys that were already there.
We had a good squad that year. One thing that stands out for me was one night we were up training and it was snowing and hailing up in the top field and there was a 30 boys standing along the ditch. And Packy just told us to go home because he said it was too bad for training, but he knew that we were focused enough, we were all there ready to go anyhow. So.
And it was showing him since that he was probably, I think he said that he just wanted to see what was there 100 there for it. It was that bad of night, he was never going to train.
I remember things like meetings before championship matches were huge. The preparation was fine detailed. Players' discipline was excellent at that time. The players all rode in. I think there was an excellent blend too of youth and older players' experience, which really you had a balanced team, which was looking back, which was a huge benefit.
The team won their second Grogan Cup in 3 years before their championship campaign got underway.
Grogan Cup first, that went well.
Back to Marcus
in
Phillipstown.
We were coming into the championship and the first game was against the Connells.
Mark Stansfield would have been at his peak them days and he was kicking free kicks from everywhere, but we ground out a result somehow. I think Darragh had a good game that night, maybe got a couple of goals. On through the group phases then, the Westerners, remember playing them.
And then with a very tight match with the Geraldines. If I can remember, it was a Spirit point we got a draw. McDermott's was next and I have to say we were well beaten by them, which put us in a situation we had to go into a play-off to see who'd go into the semi-final or quarter-final. And who do we meet again? Only the Geraldines. And another draw. And then the replay, they beat us. So that put us into a quarter-final with the Dreadnoughts, which I have to say the Dreadnoughts at that day I think probably were near my favourites to win the championship.
We were well down in that game. I think it was 2-3 to 2 points or something at one stage. So it wasn't looking good, but it was early in the first half, so we had plenty of time to come back.
My specific memory of that year was we had a holiday booked to Paris, Disney, whatever that is. And anyway, cut a long story short, I didn't go. And after 10-15 minutes, I think there was something like 8 or 9 points. I said, all I could think of was making mouse. He's messing me.
The big change to me was Colin Kelly was an inter-county player at that time and he was really running the game. And we switched Sean Gowrie on him and that put an end to him for the rest of the game. And I think there was another stroke pull. We didn't start Ronan McElroy or Rory Daly because we both come back from injury.
And Packy McConville, who was probably the difference between 02 and other finals, he just knew how to win games. He was clinical in the championship. He was that wee bit classier. He held Rory till the second half, I can remember. I can remember him holding Rory by the shirt and it was like a greyhound at a racetrack. Rory wanted on and Packy was holding him and he just let him go and Rory came on and he ruled the roost.
And then we got I think Collie got a goal.
Collie got a goal. Yeah, I remember flicking a ball down to Collie, and he stuck it in the top corner. It was a great finish. But Red O'Neill done his act that night. He came on as a sub. I think.
Sub.
Was it Paddy kicked it?
Paddy was kicking it. I think he was going for a point. He said he was picked him out, but Red came up and it was fested in the back. It really won't be a point or something, but it was.
I think we did. Yeah.
It was a big turning point for it, wasn't it? The championship. Obviously, when you're in the semi-final, but which was give you that sort of belief that you could come back.
The players and locals eagerly anticipated the identity of their opponents in the semi-final draw.
I remember hearing the draw that we got to early in the semi-final. The nerves started tingling straight away because there's a lot of history there, obviously. But it was the first time we only played them for the first time that year as senior players. We wouldn't have played them underage. They came down that year, so
that's right.
But they had a good side, and we knew them very well from growing up playing against them. But with the first game against them in Knockbridge, I think we should have edged at that night. We were the best team.
We were the best team. I think we were 8-5 up in injury time, and it was the penalty then, that very harsh penalty.
Yeah.
And Red sort of went to the replay, and was it in Red Village?
Red Village, the second one.
Somebody got the leg broke that night, did it?
Yeah, well, there was a ball come in, myself and Frank Noonan, who would have been the Kilkerley goalkeeper. We went for the same ball, and I twisted my ankle, and he had to go to hospital in an ambulance, and then
held the game up.
And then Sean got injured soon after that. He had to go in another ambulance, so it sounded like it was an awful
carnage,
but it wasn't. I don't think it was that dirty of a game.
Yeah, it was just that it went on that long, and with the ambulance, that there was no time for the extra time.
The crowds got bigger on each game. I remember the last game of the Clans, I think, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, the town, country, and holy Jesus, were from everywhere at that game. It was a holy terror. And it was actually a good game, I think, that day. It was up and down the field. I remember a while. Lovely sunny day.
I think people had heard about the game in Louth Village where there was 2 or 3 ambulances and men carried off, and people got the wrong perspective from the game. They thought that it was a battering match, but it really wasn't. It was a really good game of football.
They didn't score at all in the second half. We completely dominated. It was, I think we were 2 points down, but it was just one of them games. Just everything just clicked into gear. And
I think the 3 semi-final matches brought the whole. It was a mini championship in itself, and the crowds and the rivalry and that. There was crowds from Cross and Enniskeane and all, and then when it came to the final, everyone just wanted to see us get over the line.
And so the Malachis reached their first intermediate football championship final since 1990, and the build-up, albeit a short one due to the 3 semi-final games, began.
The whole build-up was just top-notch. It was trying to keep a lid, and it was probably I know Michael took us down to Blaney a few nights, remember that? And he took us away, and we were training down there, get our heads right. So it was the build-up was brilliant. It's a thing you'll never forget.
The whole community got behind us, and there was a lot of painting and stuff going on the roads, and banners out everywhere and flags. It was great to see, in a small area, everyone just pulled together. But
I remember the nights at training there, the week before in particular, there, just that buzz. It sort of sticks in my memory of just the type of evenings it was. It was real sort of perfect evenings. Everybody's in good form out there. That's what football's all about.
And I think he had Joe Cannon up one night as well, didn't he? Because Armagh won a couple of weeks before that.
That's right, and Armagh won. Was it the week before?
The week before that, was, because you were sort of getting the buzz of that as well, because I think the camera stopped outside here, and they were sort of like they were training here, and as you said, it was just a perfect time for training and football there. You were looking forward to it. I know you were in the final, but the weather was so good, wasn't it? Long evenings, and there was just a great buzz about it at that stage, and even people coming to see us training, it was big time. I felt like some sort of superstar. There's loads of people here when I remember the Democrat coming out, and there was loads of people here for photographs.
Onwards to the final, and a warm-up in the Clans field, and the nerves that went with it.
Yeah, I think it's probably we were nervous then once we got out there. I can remember walking around behind the band. The nerves definitely set in. The game mightn't just been as comfortable as we were in other games, but we knew that team so well. That the Geraldines team, we played against them a few times that year, and they were in our league, so you knew who you were marking. And it's Paddy McGuinness, I think I would be marking full back.
Yeah, you just knew
good battles with them all the time.
And they were the same. They probably knew us that well as well. So we knew the moves of everybody, didn't they?
Yeah.
And
10 or 15 minutes into the game, we had a man who had a foul on John Neri, I think you'd call it a rush of blood to the head. Paul Finnegan took his name, sent me a yellow card, and the ball was in, and he done the same thing again, maybe a wee bit worse the second time. So I don't think Paul Finnegan seen what I seen, or Michael would have been heading for the lane. But thankfully, he didn't send Michael off. And a couple of minutes after, we got a free kick back in our half of the field, and Michael took it, and he passed it out to Rory. And Rory kicked a long ball into Dara Green, and Dara Green scored a goal of it. So, to me, that was a big turning point in the game.
Until the dying moments, we certainly weren't sure of winning, and I think a few players chipped in with some very good scores that day. I think Jerry Hammond scored a drop kick goal, Dara Green scored a goal, Colin Murphy scored a penalty.
I think Red O'Neill came on again near the end of that one, probably for myself, and he was just started to cause a bit of trouble in there in the box, maybe when things were dying down a bit, but we done well now. We had some good players there, like Jerry Hammond and Darragh. It's beat the Burn, like, and Aidan Murphy. I think that was probably his first year with us as well. Like, some good young
great
players.
Point he carried out from cornerback that day.
You were a good man in the match there. Let's give you a mention there as well. He was great. I did all the
you were doing nice, just picking up the breaks.
And we had I always wore 9 during the games, but for some reason I was 8 on the. Some mix up on the numbers anyway. They thought I was holding me up for man of the match, and I was going up and going, will I take it, or will I let him have no, this is actually Rory. He says, oh yeah, it is. Yes. So it was one chance I had to get 2 cups that day. But
I know what you were. Everybody was delighted then, so when the final whistle went, and just sort of hysterics after that. Like, remember the whole jumping a bit and not really knowing what you were supposed to do. Like, but. That was great.
Naomh Malachi. Accept this cup on behalf of the Naomh Malachi Cup team. After so many years of shut-ups and cut-ups and what-ifs, we're finally there.
Was delighted. People all over the pitch that you would have seen for years. Everybody was emotional about it.
Just people that you played with when you started playing football, and boys that you watched playing football out on the pitch, like in tears nearly, weren't they? Like, even I remember Packy Rogers and coming over like at the change rooms and stuff, just shaking hands with people, like, one of the older people about the club, like, and it was great to see it for. That whoever was there, that sort of a day to enjoy it,
I was touch and go about stopping, I was, probably the fact that I was in the goals probably kept me going. It was easier to play on than other players, Felt sorry for Kevin Begley, but I was 35, it was easy to stop, but boy was I glad that, stayed on.
The victory march out to Courtbane was a memorable one for the players and supporters, but it was also a poignant one.
Come on down though, I'll never forget when we came into that car park, and it definitely was not organised, because I would have been going to an event that was organised or any of that thing. But the players got together and walked up that hill. That was a great moment.
Yeah, it was touching.
Yeah, it was a great moment for the players, and I'd say for Declan's family to hear that it happened. It was just one of them moments in life.
Lovely area.
Now playing at the senior grade for the first time, the Malachis would be competitive in the league under Jim Finnegan, although the championship would be a different story. In the midst of this, the club suffered the untimely loss of Keith Rogers. The Malachis went into the 2005 season under new management and another crack at intermediate level.
I think Paul took over the start of that year. we were probably in a bit of a downer after getting relegated from senior the previous year. But we made a good start. I think there was 3 competitions we were in that year, and we got the final in all 3 of them. We won the Grogan Cup there over in Roach.
The Gales and that, wasn't it?
Gales, yeah.
There was a real freshness added to the setup. There was a huge focus on ball work and skill levels and a lot of small-sided games. It certainly brought us on as a team. I remember when I came into the 2005 championship, we were playing excellent football.
And he put the Malachis in front. Barely 30 seconds gone, and comes back up the post, goes back to Phil Daly. Great chance for a goal, but Daly kicks it over the bar. Rory Daly inside towards Michael Murta, overlapping. Gets inside the cover, puts a shot, and no score for the Malachis. Colin Murta with a chance of a point, and a great score by Colin Murta. On the post side, he hits it quick down towards Colin Murphy getting around Paul Casey. Trying to narrow the angle, getting a shot in and getting it over the bar. It's a great play by Gessel across to Michael Daly. Chances opening up for the Malachis. Can Daly cut inside? Can he kick it over the bar? The answer is yes.
2005, yeah, it was disappointing because we probably thought we battled them really well. We thought Gerald's team was a good team. We did an awful lot of daft things in the clans that day. We kicked the ball wide 18 times.
Where would he take it? Down towards his brother Colin Murta. Colin with it now, gets it in towards Jerry Hamill. Jerry Hamill back to Colin Murta into Michael Daly. Right through the...
We were fierce unlucky to hit the post a couple of times, goal chances. Then they lose by a point. Second thing.
As a final whistle goes, and it's the Geraldines. They're the senior champions for 2004, the intermediate champions for 2005. The narrowest of margins.
Although they suffered an agonising 1-point defeat in the championship final, the Malachis had a chance to redeem themselves and claim another shot at senior football when they faced the Shonamahanis in the league decider. 1 point ahead with time almost up, the Malachis were on the attack. Leading by 2 points in injury time though can be a dangerous lead, and there was to be a sting in the tail.
Standout moment was me and myself.
Aidan, like
me and yes.
Aidan that made the great save in the clans.
Yeah.
That same Aidan. What did the paper say that day? That next day, the next Saturday?
We didn't buy anything.
Didn't buy it.
After suffering 2 1-point final defeats in the previous year, there were question marks looming over the team's mentality.
From 2005, we wondered whether the team had the bottle to come back at 2006 to win the championship after being beaten the following year, you know, which we thought we should have won, but we didn't. Well, we fit to come back and win in 2006 again, you know. To say it takes a good team to come back again, you know. But these boys was here, you know. They knew they could win another championship, and they were determined to win, and to win the extra effort to do that.
With Paul Thorley agreeing to stay on with the team, I think everyone agreed to put in as much of an effort as possible to focus on training, focus on that extra bit that we missed in 2005.
That extra bit missed in 2005 was helped with the integration of some key underage players into the senior setup.
We probably got the injection of a couple of young players coming out of minor, like Kevin and Jason Clark and Brian and David Begley, which added a big thing onto the team. You know, when you add 4 like that onto a team, it means an awful lot. But we had a good campaign that year as well. We beat Stabannon, Dowdall's Hill and the Finbars, and then the Gales beat us in the group stages, like, and we had to play the Gales again to see who went into the quarter final or semi final, and it went to replay as well. So the more games we were getting we were getting better all the time, you know what I mean, and these youngest boys will get more experience.
I remember playing St Nicholas out in Dowdall's Hill there in the quarter final, and
they were handy enough though.
We scraped through, and I think they missed a couple of flavors.
Yeah, Raleigh semi-final then.
Raleigh's in the semi-final, yeah, we won that one by 2 or 3 points, I think, as well.
But they were favourites again. We were probably underdogs in them games.
Yeah, I think we the game against the Gills there in the playoff, coming through to it, when you got your elbow in it, isn't it?
Yeah. It went to extra time as well.
Yeah. As I say, the Gales were probably the team we were looking at. We thought we were going to have them in the final, and they maybe took their eye off the ball in the semi-final. O'Connell's beat them well, I think, out in Dells Hill after our game, so we ended up playing O'Connell's in the final. And I think they had a fairly good team in them days as well. O'Connell's Reynolds was probably the man to watch. He was doing all the scoring that year for them. Stuart Reynolds, he would have been a loud goalkeeper. But
it's probably the year that Kevin and that final, the Kevin and Jason
they made the
broke through there and added a whole bit of extra edge to the attack, maybe that we needed.
Just to put. It's high. It's over the bar. It's 2-1 now. Number 10, Darrell Green. Oh, good ball in. Great ball in. Number 15 has it. Kevin Rogers sticks it over the bar.
Thinking back on it, like, I think just Ronan McIlroy, that goal that he got that day was the turning point in that game. You know, like sort of scrambled it out of nothing there.
Few jeers, but unsportsmanlike from the O'Connells. Comes off the boot, slides off the boot. Wizzy's under it. Oh, the big Wiggy's there. Oh, Wiggy gives it away, clean away. Oh, it's a great goal for the Marquis. A great goal.
Came on as a blood sub for him, I remember, and scored a point. I think that happened within the first 5 or 10 minutes of the game.
Number 22, Ronan McIlroy. Over the bar.
I think the manager had a bit of confidence that I wasn't too badly injured and stuck me on fairly shortly afterwards for the rest of the game, and fortunately enough things turned out right.
Probably Daisy coming on was the turn of the game. Daisy came on for blood sub. I think he scored a couple of points. He should have been on the start, but I think he was the usual crack. He was bluffing and he didn't get started. That's what happened. So I think when he came on, he had a point to prove, and he did prove it. And I think he was back off and he's straight back on again.
They had a few chances near them to equalise
us at the end. Like they had frees, must have had 5 frees from the 50, and they were just kicking them all a foot wide. Like you know, there were great strikes to the ball. I think it was Reynolds that hit them all. He just
Another
missed
day
them
he was
all.
kicking the ball against the Gales, but he just didn't open it.
We held out for the last 10 minutes. I think it was the last 10 minutes with no score at all in the game. We were under pressure the whole time, and the Connells just couldn't get that couple of points to go on and win it. But we hung out for anyone, got the win again.
It's a great day for the Malachis, sad day for the O'Connells, but well done to the Malachis, they won and all. I see them all down there celebrating on a scoreline of 1-9 to the Malachis, 1-8 to the O'Connells.
I remember when the final whistle blew that day. It was like we stole it. Like that's what it felt like to me, you know. But
it was great.
That was great
relief.
Euphoria after the year before. Like it was that hurt, like because we played well in 05.
For me, definitely the big thing for 2006 was the level of hunger and the fight that we had to first of all come back from being beaten in the final the previous year, and then to actually go the further step and win it. I thought it showed huge character for the team.
And it just shows you how funny football is. Like really, we played awful poorly. Connells kicked us off the pitch that they only had to kick so many wides, whereas we played far better against the Geraldines and lost in that final.
The celebrations, I suppose, after the game, we might have had a standard enough formula for
back here normally for the early hours.
Yeah.
I think we were in Callans for food.
There was definitely Callans there. I remember there's photos about it, that alright. But yeah, it was just good night's crack. Sure, I really was up to high dough, as they say.
We didn't celebrate it too much anyhow. We took it easy that week, did we? No, it lasted a week actually.
Following the 2006 victory, the team went on to represent Louth in the Leinster campaign, where they faced the Kildare outfit Confey.
Just the Leinster Championship thing was a historic thing for the club, the first time we were involved with it. So we put a bit of training in and stuff to get prepared for that. Went down to Confey in Kildare. It was a whole trip down on a bus. Sure, was all novelty.
It was good. We went in somewhere for breakfast.
And probably ate all the wrong things, like fry up and everything, but
it wasn't playing that day because I was coming from the elbow injury. I had a good Friday. It was good, but it just rained, I think, the whole way down, didn't it? And there was no stand or anything. I remember that we had a good few supporters down, good stalwarts was there, but I remember it just being so, everybody was just drenched along the sidelines.
No, it was one of them games never got
5-4 and they got somebody sent off, like we just never got.
No, we struggled to do anything that day.
I think they went to the final that year, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
Back in the senior ranks once again, the Malachis were under the guidance of an experienced coolie man in Padder Gallagher.
Padder was a different type of manager. He was a good trainer as well, I have to say. A great man, young men and motivating players. And we were in senior championship and senior league, and we got off to a great start. We bet the like of the Newtown Blues, Cooley, Mallock Rangers. We drew with the Pats.
Great start. I remember just looking on one of the papers or something, just seeing Malachi's top Division 1, like with all these big teams up at the elite then, and there was games out there. I didn't play that year to get an operation, but there was games out there. It was just great games of football against just the speed of football we were playing at.
And then there was a wee bit of controversy with the Brides in the game. We awarded the points and we got into the final.
Out in the clans, and like it was the stage we were at. We weren't afraid of Cooley. Don't think we beat them that year, but we knew we had it in. I think we drew with them out there in the Winter League, so we knew we had it up against them, and we knew we were up against with them. They had a very strong team that year too. They were getting the championship finals every year really. But we played well against them that night. I think Daisy got a goal in the first half.
Collie Morton got a few good points that night too. They were a very strong team. White there, Brian White would have been county man. He was scoring. I think we sort of clawed back into that game at the end, were we? Yeah. We just got 5 points there.
We have to say we played fairly well in the final. We the last 10-15 minutes we owned the game. If the game had to go on another half minute, I'd say we would have won it. And like the draw with Cooley had 4 or 5 in the Louth team that time. It just shows you where we were at that stage. We were well up, you know what I mean? Like,
could have won that night, you know. This club could have been Division 1 league champions in 2007.
I remember there just being a buzz around the place, people actually stopping me and saying like you've come from out of nowhere to being in a league final, and not only that, should have won it, you know, which for me was like a real coming of age for the team. Like.
Yeah, I think especially for an area the size of this, it's a big achievement to get to a league final as opposed to a championship final. The league means, you know, you're the best team throughout the year, or one of the best teams throughout the year, and that, I think that meant a lot to us that year.
Then I went to a replay. I don't know, was that a week later or was it?
I think it was a few weeks later. Just the way it went. It was on a Sunday morning.
I actually broke my finger the week before that, and I remember I had to get an injection in the changing room. So it was that stressed out about the injection that I did absolutely nothing in that game. I was a complete passenger. I remember.
Malachi will be looking to start the second half well. Here it's Ronan McElroy. Ronan McElroy kicks it high and kicks it over the bar. Kevin set up the score. Here it's Kevin with the shot. Is it going to drop in short? It's going over the bar.
That second game I got sent off, and it was fucking silly act there, but I think we lost sort of momentum. But I remember standing behind the goals looking at the boys, and they're still going. Like, and Dara, I think, had a chance near the end, hit the ball at the post. That just went narrowly wide. Probably was the winner for us. Like, so we were very close that year. Again,
it would have been a great achievement. I suppose even getting to the final there. When you look back on it all, it was all historic stuff for the club. So
we could have won it, but we were beaten by 2 points. But it was no fault. You know, man, you couldn't blame anybody. It was just Cooley were a good team that time. You know.
Their early league form, in which the Malachis showed plenty of promise, set them on their way to a championship run.
We had good form that year, because we got a point against the Glade Rangers there in the Clans in the championship. That was our first senior championship point, and then we back Kilkerley out in Dowdall's Hill.
Yeah, that was our first win in the senior championship against your neighbours as well. Like 2007, we were flying. Like.
And then we bet O'Mahony's in Louth Village.
Was that 07?
That was all 07, yeah. We got to the quarter final then against Mallock Rangers, and again they would be a fancy team. They had good championship form, but we actually came off the pitch that night against Mallock feeling we should have bet them. Like, we had a great chance. I think Jason made out a penalty later on. We probably were disappointed that we didn't get further in the senior championship, which just shows where we got the club at that stage. So we were competing senior. That we weren't afraid of anyone really.
If we had to win it, we'd have gone on to play the Pats in the semi-final. And it's just funny, I was talking to Peter Fitzpatrick one night, and he was saying he's never glad to see the Malachis bet. He would like to see the Malachis win, he said, but he was just glad that day to see them bet, because he was afraid if we met them we might beat the Pats. He was more worried about playing us than Maddox, so he was. The way we were playing that year, the type of football we were playing, and the energy the boys were into games, and they were chasing Harry, and they were just doing everything. Padda had them in great shape.
On the back of the rise over the previous decade, there was great depth and quality within the Malachy's senior and junior squads, a junior setup that Mark Gogarty was central to.
I remember at the start of the year, 2008, the boys coming and asking me to manage the team, nicest grand. And I think maybe Martin Rogers and Paul McCann, I don't know whether I asked them or vetoed in one way or another anyhow. Got them on board and two good lads in fairness. So it was great. We'd still had great lads. Like Michael was in the middle of the field, Eddie Lowry in a wing, Rowan Lynch in another wing. The Smiths came in, massive addition. Borden goals, good enough kick out. Casey, goal machine. Shane Rogers was in that team.
But we had a great squad of boys that was just coming off playing senior football. Like you had Jeremy Kane, Fra, myself was there, Mark Gogarty, Gowd Wells,
David
Casey, Paul Deary was playing, and the younger fellas like I think Sean Smith started. He came in and later ended that. Stephen Smith, Shane Rogers, and Jerry Murphy was in midfield there. But
for the first time in their history, the Malachis had their eye on winning a Junior 2A championship game.
Usually junior championship for us wouldn't be just getting knocked out in the first games, but I think it was the Glade Rangers we had here first. It was by a point. We bet them close enough. Kilkerley the next game.
Donald Lennon, who was about 50 at the time, got the first two balls in me. I was saying this is a disaster, but it was steadied the ship then and we won by a point, and it's great when you beat Kilkerley, it gives you a boost.
Then we had 2 games against the Brides. It was one just come back in the last minute. Was it Eddie or Harshaw got was it penalty or something in the last above in? We give Harshaw the credit for it. I think it was in the penalty in the last couple of minutes or something. So we got into the final against Cooley out in Haggardstown.
I remember Cooley boys coming in, and I knew they had a drill with a certain amount of footballs, and we genuinely had no footballs. Because if you're listening, you were late again, so we had to go to Cooley boys, and I was working it there, so I got lend a couple of balls at the Cooley boys, and it disrupted them for their train of thought at the start of the game. Definitely did. We had a heap of balls, and they had no balls to play with to start off with. But we were 5-0 down. Panic, yeah, it was definitely panic. Casey got a goal. We chipped away points. I remember hitting one in now. It was supposed to hit it near the square, and whatever I called it went over the bar. I'd say it was 80 yards that day, right? Was it? Maybe 85. Ronald Garr showed me that one.
It was just one of them crazy end to it then. They were just getting so cocky. I remember even they were just cocking us the whole way through it, but that's probably railed us then. I remember looking at Gowd Wills and he was there completely white in the face, but I would just turn things around, and then they had a penalty, and the man top of the hit the crossbar, and he headed it over or something like that, didn't he?
Yeah.
But just got the goals at the right time. David Casey got the 2 goals, and they had a 50 in the last minute. Just was great scenes when it sailed.
Yeah, when you look back, 08 was probably the club's greatest achievement, because when you see the names of all the other teams on that thing, like it's all Cooley, Pats, Blues, all big teams with big squads, and there was us coming along with our small squad. It just shows the talent we had around that time.
We really celebrated that one.
That was a great one.
Like for them, for boys who were sort of coming to retirement, it was a great achievement to get the name in that cup, because it never happened before, you know.
I remember the end of the game, it was just, you had your senior players coming over, hugging your junior players. Like, logic says it should be the other way about, you know what I mean? The small men hugging the big men. But the big men that day hugged the small men, and I'll never forget that. I know winning an intermediate title was good in 2002, 2006. But I know my 2008 medal is today. I'm not saying I couldn't find other ones, but it's the one I know where it is. And it's the one that, if you're ever out with pints around here, we always come back to it. The one that David again Killayet, you know what I mean? And we played well that day. Nobody could hold it against us.
In 2009, the Malachis were back in the intermediate grade following defeat to the Shona Mahanis in the Senior Championship playoff, but their championship run that year did not get off to the best of starts.
Padraig O'Neill was appointed. We started off our championship campaign, I have to say, the Clans BSB a point in Castlebanninghamn and the Rahleys BSB a point in Hagerstown. And I have to say it was a very rocky start, And one memory I have after the Rattlers game is walking across the back of the goals at the dressing room end, myself and Declan, and two men behind the goals.
Sharpening the knives.
And one man says, "We're sharpening the knives for yous." I'll not tell you his name, but you will probably all know who he is. So, as he says himself, it was a warrant for us to get our act together. We done a bit of thinking on it. But there was also another man appointed that year on the selection committee, was Aidan High. He came in with a good knowledge of football as well, and he was a new voice on as well, if you know what I mean. And we got talking to him, myself and him got talking, and we knew there had to be a bit of a change made to bring this forward. So we decided that he would approach Ocean McConville to see if he could come up on that night, and Ocean accepted the invitation. We had a bit of a break in between the games then, which helped us to get prepared for the next game, which was the Joes, and we beat the Joes fairly convincingly. And then our next game was the Islanders in the Clansfield. Now I have to say we were 4 or 5 points down that game and come back and beat them by 2 points. So things were beginning to look up for us. Then into a quarter final, which we were playing Hunterstown. It was a game in Knockbridge. And early on that game, I don't know what Collie done, but Collie Murta got the marching orders, which paused under pressure again. But we came through that game as well, beat Hunterstown. So that set us up for a meeting. The Connells beat the Gales. They were all looking for a Gales Malachi's final, but it didn't materialise. So who were drawn again in the semi-final? Only the Connells.
I had a bit of a gripe in my head that day. I was fuming about our physio, because we had a physio and he was with 2 clubs. He was with us and the O'Connells. We made a decision before the game that he was going to go with the O'Connells. So I had something in my head. I wanted to prove that he backed the wrong horse that day. And I think a lot of other boys had a good aggressive attitude that day. They probably thought because we bet them in 05 that it was going to be their day, but it doesn't work like that, you know.
The O'Connells hadn't been beaten. They were red hot favourites for that year. It was also I remember being in the back of my mind, this team still hasn't won anything, and there being definitely vulnerability there that I thought we could do well at.
Colin Rooney, he's still going forward. Connor's after him. He's sizing the ball up and he kicks, and it's gone. Yes, it's gone over the bar for a nice point. Yeah, that's Kevin Rogers, is it? Kevin Rogers with the big low or looping. Yes, it's gone over the bar. It's number 4, Christopher Smith, in a fair bit of overlapping here, and it's running, and it's gone through here in the middle. This is the centre half, and it's a very, very strong run through by Ronan Green.
I do remember, I think, playing the ball into you, Daisy, and did you score a goal out of it?
I probably did, yeah.
I remember playing a really high crossfield ball, but I remember we had serious momentum on it that day, which it really stood to us, and I think the O'Connells didn't know what to do with us.
Yeah, it was one of the better games. I think if you ask anyone that follows the Malachis there, probably they'll say that that's one of the best games we've played. I wasn't actually on that day myself, so that's maybe why, but we had a very strong squad. Like, I remember looking at the video of it and even looking at the sideline. Yeah, it's a lot of good players standing looking on, but there was great aggression that day.
This is a danger man that has it. This is dangerous. Yes. There's a few men here out on the left. Dangerous balls, yeah. Yes, over the bar. Rory Daly, that was excellently finished from. Oh, do you see that? Fabulous score. Yeah, he's a very, very big, strong man, that full forward, Roland McIlroy, that he's on Keith Woods. Keith's is, a star player, but Keith's getting it very, very hard to mark this man because he's just so big and strong. That's the sub number 21 that has that ball. Oh, geez, he found this man lovely. We just do not want another score here. That's something we don't want.
Connells was unbeaten all year, had their pen picks and all done for the final. It was only a matter of turning up, but I think on the day, Kevin Rogers scored a couple of great points that day, got us to the final.
The Malachis would contest the 09 final with Na Piercy, a side who had suffered defeat in the final just 12 months previous.
Remember, in the team meeting the night before, one of the McEntee twins came down to give us a wee bit of a pep talk, And I remember the talk at the time was on Piercy lost the final the year before, the same as us in 05. Coming into a final, everyone was saying, oh, should have know what it takes to win the final this time. And I do remember one of McAtee's saying to us, look, it's one thing a team, everyone's saying, oh, they know how to win a final. And he said, you don't know how to win a final until you actually win a final. And you go and do it. And I remember leaving that night thinking, oh, definitely, like, do you know, if we're there and thereabouts, the game going into the closing stages, there should be, the bit of doubt might creep in. And I remember thinking, right, whatever we do, just make sure we're there, pushing at them the whole way to the end.
They had danger men out there too, you know. But we had the good man there, fullback, Chris Smith, like, kept their danger man, Larkin. Very good player, you know. Actually, up to that, he was their main man through the whole championship for them, you know. But we knew we had to watch him, you know. So we put a man-to-man marking job, you know. And in fairness to Chris, like, he wiped me out of the game, you know. That was a big plus, you know. But it was still nick and tuck the whole way, you know. So it's eventually, come up to the last minute or two, it was pretty hairy stuff.
So they got a goal, somebody thumped in a goal from the edge of the square. It sort of changed the complexion of it completely, and then there was a ball cleared off the line. I think everybody, 15 men claimed to clear it that day. I don't actually know who did it, but they got a penalty then.
Malone got a penalty in. I didn't actually turn it back. I didn't look like, you know.
With the last kick of the game and the Malachis 2 points up, Cormac Malone stepped up to win the Seamus Flood Cup for Na Piercy.
Doing it as a player is one thing, but then doing it as a selector and actually being on the panel of that, you know, and also being sub-goalkeeper, must I say, which is another record I probably have over you, Mark. I think I'm the only man who has played and selector in an intermediate championship final.
I think you're right, Hayden.
You give me that one.
I think you're right, Hayden.
The Malachis weren't finished for the year though, as they had eyes on a Leinster run.
We got a lucky draw, I think, that year. We had a path to the final and all the games would have been at home. So we played a team from Carlow out here in the first game. I think we beat them easy enough. I don't have much memories.
They were the senior, but they were really junior.
Yeah, junior club.
Two sort of reasonable enough, handy outings, if you could call them that. Started to get on a wee bit of a roll, but then we had Maynooth in the next round. They were a decent outfit now, but again, when you sit back and look at it, there, like a club of our size playing against a team the size of our area, the size of Maynooth, it was a good statement of where we were at that stage. So we didn't perform out there at all. Although first half, I remember us having a lot of chances, we just didn't capitalise at all. It was a strong wind, we weren't using it, but second half, I think they won by 11, they get 11 or 12 points or something. We didn't score much at all, I don't think, in the second half, but it was a day to forget. But still, it was a good year all in all.
However, the club were once again left reeling in 2011 following the tragic passing of Shane Rooney. Shane's passing stunned the local community. The downturn in the economy during the same period reflected changing times. An end of an era was upon the club.
There was a lot of men in their mid to late 30s sort of coming to the end of their playing days. Maybe a few guys leaving, emigrating or whatever. So things started to turn a wee bit there. The other situation here is just your limited playing population that you have. It's a small area, small primary school, and you just have limited numbers coming through, so it started probably to turn a little bit at that stage. But credit to the players that did play, kept trying hard there, and we were in senior 2010. We would have been after winning in 09. I suppose did we come down that year, or was it the year
2011?
after? We come back down.
Was it play-off against the Marys, I think?
Yeah, that's right. 2011, I think we got to the Winter League final there against Pats. And that was a good enough tournament even to get to the final. We probably still had a strong
6
team.
points in that or something, I think.
But we might have been, we were propped up maybe a wee bit there by a few players we got through, like the likes of the Smiths and Pierce Carty and them boys came through. It wasn't young players we were bringing through, it was good established players. But we just never had the influx of young players again that we had maybe in my era. So.
But there's still plenty of talent there. See some of the games the boys played, there's a ton of talent there, but we just need to keep things going. It's probably going back to some maybe the mid-80s with us, where there's a small number and you're just struggling to get a team together. But on our day, I would be confident especially that we can do a job and coming up to the championship. We always pull ourselves together for a championship.
Well, as last 2 years, as everyone knows, we've won the Kevin Mullen played twice. That's 2015 and 2016 retained it. So, you know, it's an upward curve. At least we're keeping the medals coming. Hopefully now in the next couple of years we will be getting bigger and better. You know, hopefully in the next maybe year or two out of Division 3 and back into intermediate. You know, we have a talented squad out there. You know, the likes of the young boys coming on and other boys coming in as well has proven vital this year. You know, it's an upward curve. That's what the club's all about. It's always been in the vocabulary around here. Is, you know, keep things going.
Of course, a couple of boys went away as well, because massive loss. A couple of players, top players too, and county players. They come back and be a massive boost to the club. Might even come back intermediate. Hopefully, we'll get out of it in the next year or two. If they come back, it'll be a massive boost for us, and who knows from there.
Yeah, I think just teams go in cycles. I think when we was Frastills, when we started off, a lot of the older guys was there, they hung on till we came, and I think now it's similar. A lot of the older boys is hanging on till the youth comes again, but
just hanging on.
I think, look, as you said, there'll always be a club, there'll always be numbers, there'll always be players. It's just mightn't be at the same level, but
in terms of the transition, having been at pretty much achieving nearly as much as we could have hoped to have achieved. It has been disappointing that we've kind of slipped down a grade or slipped down a couple of grades, but I suppose you have to be very realistic in terms of, and all teams go through different times. I think we worked really, really hard together. We've lost players for different reasons, for a variety of reasons. The recession, obviously, emigration, stuff like that, and there's been a whole host of reasons. But I suppose we certainly have a wee nucleus of players there who kind of stuck together, and I suppose you have to be able to. We've had the good times, and it's really important then that we stick together and kind of soldier through whatever challenging times are ahead of us.
In recent years, there's been a huge focus on underage football and doing a whole rejuvenation and more focus on even under 5s, under 7s, that type of stuff, and getting people used to the premises here, new people that come into the area, all the kids up in the school, especially now hopefully now with the preschool nearly up and running. That'll be another collecting kids into the area and bringing them down here to the club and teaching them the skills by excellent coaches there. Pierce Carty's doing excellent work, Francis, and all other former players they're helping out, and it'll only get bigger. It's probably the most critical part is focusing on underage football and thinking of the future.
The last few years, myself and Fra and a few of the other parents, of David Casey, Stephen Mattis, Pierce Carty's coaching them again this year. Just probably the last 4 or 5 years we focused more on a club school link there to try to encourage them to play football from under 6 level up to under 12 before they go to the next level, which is up playing with Kilkerley and that. So it's been going well the last while, and probably for the first time at that level we had a number 8 team last year, so hopefully we can keep them together and they can progress up through the ranks.
Football, though, in the Sheila area wasn't just confined to the men. About a decade after the men's team had established themselves in the Sheila area, a ladies' team began to emerge.
It started off really with tug of war, and It's a Knockout was a major event on TV at that time. So it went on from there, and ladies football was introduced around 1973, 1974. And there was a lot of footballers in this area, the female variety, who were very interested in the game. So I think the first team there was from the Malachies would have been around 1974, and they took part in Cullaville and tournament down there. And it was a very famous game. They played Cullaville, and it got pretty heated. I think Sheila came out winners, but it didn't end at the final whistle.
The formation of the ladies' team followed.
It was very much, there's a festival coming up next week, get a team ready, and people like Paddy Woods, Vincey McCarroll, Declan Woods and Kitty Bailey would have been very much involved that time. Some very good players, particularly Carmel and Bernard Hyde. There was also Bernard and Mairead Hernan, also Lily here was involved, Claire Murta, McGuinness is also, Anne Burns, so many of them there, Margaret Waters. They were all fine footballers and they took part in those tournaments. But going on a wee bit further, in around 1976, then there was a county board formed in the county, and then football took on a more structured and more organised level. So the Malachies then entered a team in the Louth League and Championship, but the Malachies really performed very well in that. And a number of the players then went on to represent Louth in that year's Leinster Championship.
I think it was 76 we got to the Leinster final. It was a very good team, as I say. We beat Meath after a replay, and then we played awfully, and we got beaten, unfortunately. But Bernard High and myself played in that team.
Louth Ladies Football County Board would fold in 1976, and for a time Camogie would be the primary sport in the area under Rita O'Loughlin, Mary and Bernadette McCardle and Elena Martin, before the reformed Football Board emerged in 1992.
The season went well, quite a number of clubs took part in it. Then 1993, a number of girls in the area approached me with a view to setting up a team in this area. So I said I would help out as best I could. So Sean Moley was provided invaluable help to me that time. So in 1993 we played a number of challenge matches against Courtbane, both here in Courtbane and also in Corus as well, and with a view to forming a team for the 1994 season. So with a combination of players from Courtbane and from this area, we were able to take part in 1994. So we took part in the Division 1 League, which was probably a little too strong for us. Then the following year in 1995, we took part in the Division 2 League and got through all the way to the final. We did get a boost in 95 because Lily returned to the club she was playing for in Enniskeane at that time, and we qualified for the Division 2 final and played Hunterstown in that final. So we won that final by 6 goals and 10 points to 2-4, and Lily again was player of the match. She scored 6-4 in that final out of her 6-10, but that team wasn't just all about one player, because we had such promising young players coming through like Yvonne Burns, Caroline Lynch, Mary Regan and others.
We won the Division 2 League in 1995. That game was played in the Gales, and again great credit that game, great atmosphere, and we won well, but I remember coming back. It was great crack coming back here that night, and I think I think we were here until the very early hours of the morning, and that was one of my probably best memories of the football here.
The Malachy's ladies headed into the 1996 season with a very enthusiastic, though inexperienced, team.
Yeah, well, 96, you know, I suppose Cooley and the Joes were dominant teams, and you know, just to give you an idea, Joes won the Leinster Championship in 96. So the draw was probably favourable to us in the Championship. We played the Dreadnoughts, I think, in the first round, and the Fechins in the semi-final. I always remember the semi-final against the Fechins. It was up in Hagerstown, and Caroline Lynch, she was one of the rising stars of the team at that time, and Caroline scored 2-9 on that evening. So we went into the final against the Joes. They were after beating a very strong Cooley team after a replay, and they were so seasoned, they were so experienced, and they came up against us. We were very young and inexperienced, and they run out comfortable enough winners. But the following year, very much a change in personnel, because Crossmaglen then decided they were going to form their own team, so we would have lost 6 or 7 players to there. But on the upside of that was the Gaels, unfortunately for them, they disbanded, and quite a number of their players then transferred to us. Players, you know, that went on to, you know, to have great success with us. You know, you think of players like Orla Kerr came to the club, 2 Rafferty girls, twins from Kilcurry, and it's great that they're, you know, to this day they're playing a leading role in the community here. Karen and Ciara are great players to have for this club, and the Agnews as well, and other players joined up as well. So it was a very exciting you know, year to look forward to in 97. And again, you know, people were saying we were the up and coming team, and so we were. So again, we played the Joes in the final, and ran them very close. There was only 4 points in it in the finish, so people knew we were on you know, on the march. But unfortunately, around the same time, Cooley were also coming through with some fantastic players. So we played in 6 of the next 7 finals, and unfortunately lost all 6 of them, you know. And we also played Cooley in a minor final, and I think Cooley had maybe something like 12 of our senior team, and we had 11 of ours, and it was a brilliant match over in Roach. They just won it by 1 point, but again, Caroline Lynch was pretty fantastic on that occasion. She scored 8 points, and she was up against one of the best defenders in Louth at the time, Karen Kane, and it was a really mighty battle between the two. But a great crowd that morning in Roach, and we put in a fantastic performance. I think they scored 4-3 and we scored 14 points, so we were very unlucky to lose that game. Yeah, well, I think we shouldn't forget the contribution, even though we had a great run to 6 finals there in 7 years, and the contribution of the men on the sideline. I recall Mickey Fee coming in 95. He stayed with us, won that league in 95, brought us to the championship final in 96, and then in 97, Mark Ogerty came in as manager then.
Yeah, Mark, and then we had Jerry Muff, we had Tom Conlon, Teresa Rogers, great help with the underage. And we had people like Katie Bagley on the sideline. We had Sue, Colin. So yeah, we had great help, you know.
Yeah, and it was a very strong committee in those times as well. As Liz said, Kitty Bagley was the chairperson of the day, and Kitty had a great drive and a great enthusiasm for the game. And also, you know, sitting quietly in the background, quietly but certainly getting through an amount of work, was Paddy McCarroll. She made a major contribution as well, and our treasurer, Sue Callan. Absolutely, those people were invaluable. They had to provide it to us.
On the back of the men's team winning the championship in 02, not to mention Armagh's All-Ireland success, football in the area was on the crest of a wave, and the ladies were hoping to add to the glory.
The boys here, they had a great year in 2002. They won the intermediate championship, and I mean, Armagh also won the All-Ireland that year. So the football fever had really gripped the area, and it certainly had extended to the female section. So 2003, you know, we went into that year in confidence because the team was going and getting better all the time, and a lot of them were coming to their peak. And also that year, for the first time, I suppose, the girls went for an outside manager, and Barry O'Connor came in from the Clans. Barry immediately installed Lily as his assistant, and the two of them set about early on in the year about their task was we're not going to settle for second best anymore. We're going to take the championship back to Courtbane. Both Cooley and the Malachis, as expected, made their way through to the finals, having comfortable wins on the way, and that set up what was a titanic clash in the clans and another huge crowd that day. And
get away from me! Oh, Caroline. This will go a little more to the week.
A couple of things about that game was that I think that the management, they changed the team around considerably for the final. Now, Orla Kirk was an outstanding midfielder. Jennifer New was the county half-back, and what Barry and Lily decided to do that day was they moved Orla onto the 40 and Jennifer onto a wing, and Sharon O'Gould was another top player. She was playing on the wing, and then you have inside forwards, Caroline Lynch inside forward. So I suppose the intention was to keep the ball down the field, and it wasn't going to get past their half-back line. So we dominated there. Something that Cooley were caught out, I think, a bit by. So by the time they had made the switches, I think the Malachis scored something like 3-5 in the first 20 minutes, and the game was effectively over by that stage. But tactically, both Barry and Lily got it spot on in that final.
My abiding memory of that game is just when the final whistle went. It was just so relief, and I just had to fight back the tears. It was just the emotion of losing so many finals, and personally I think I lost 4, and but I was just so happy for the club, and it was just brilliant. It was probably one of my best memories of my involvement with the club.
The following year, 2004, they retained the title again, beating Cooley in the final. 2005 was a bad year, just things didn't work out as planned, but they were back again in 2006, 2007 to win the championship. Stepana were warm favourites to win it in 2008, but the Malachis came back strong again.
In the 2009 campaign, the girls agonisingly lost out to Steban and Parnells, the new powerhouse in Louth ladies football, suffering a 2-point defeat after extra time in a replay.
2010 then was a difficult year. We lost a number of players through injury, retirement, and unfortunately with the area we're in here, the population is small, so we didn't have the players coming through. And at the same time, there was a feeling in Kilkerley that they wished to start their own team, and we had a number of players from Kilkerley playing with us, so they transferred back to our own club, and unfortunately we were unable to get the numbers to continue playing, so the team disbanded in early 2011. But a lot of memories left behind, because in the 18 years we were in existence, we played in 14 county finals and won numerous leagues as well, probably similar amount of league final appearances, and also back in 1998 Louth won the All-Ireland Junior Championship. They won the Intermediate Championship, All-Ireland Intermediate Championship the following year, and we had quite a number of players representing Louth that day, and also on the sideline in 98, 99, two of our mentors here, Joey Kirk and Dermot New, they were very much part of the Louth team, and we were also very strongly represented on the county board that year in 98, because we had 4 people in prominent positions on the county board. So we like to think, I suppose, that we played our part in the success of the Louth teams as well.
Over the course of their history, Naomh Malachi have produced players who have worn the red jersey of Louth with distinction. From Thomas Conlon, Brendan Begley, Jerry Murphy, Paul Matthews, Aidan Hoy, Jerry Moley, Anthony Hoy, Pete Lennon, Sean Daly, Francis McCardle and Mark Gogarty in the 80s and 90s, to Ronan McIlroy, Rory Daly, Dara Green, Aidan Murphy, Jason Clark, Kevin Rogers and Ronan Green in the 90s and noughties. Club players, including countless ladies, have worn the county jersey with immense pride. Mark Gogarty describes his time.
Played with Louth minors, then played with under 21s, then played with the juniors, and then I got on to seniors. So it was just progressive, there was no rocket science about it. Declan Smith was the man that would have mentored me under 21, and then he took me on to senior setup. He was with Frank Lynch. Then when Frank left, he was there on his own. Got on well with Declan, good time from him. Good lad, good methods about him.
During the infamous 2010 season, Ronan Green proudly adorned the red.
Personally, it was a massive honour to be able to represent the club and play for Louth. It was something I actually always wanted to do, and for me it was a case of doing whatever it took in terms of training and preparation to get as far as I could with it.
The Leinster campaign that year began with a clash against Longford.
We got a win against Longford, they played all right, and then the build up to the Kildare match was superb. Brian McAniff came in, and Brian had his own ways of communicating things, which was totally fresh, and there was a good chemistry between the selectors at that time. I remember going in to play against Kildare, and at the time was under Kieran McGeaney and the whole tight t-shirt thing, and they were described us as just robots who weren't fit to play football. And on the day we just pretty much blitzed them. In the semi-final we played Westmeath up there. I remember it was one of those days where we got things correct tactically. I think our half-back line, we were dropping back a wee bit more that day. I remember getting on an awful lot of ball on the day, and for some reason we had freedom and space to play against Westmeath.
And so for the first time in 50 years, Louth had reached a Leinster football final.
I clearly remember the Thursday night before training being told, we've been chatting about it, obviously be positive and all the rest going into the final, but I do remember one of the selectors saying, and I think it was Peter McDonald saying that whatever you do in the final, keep your mouth shut, don't speak to the referee, because he's really known for wanting to be centre of attention, and if he can get the chance to be centre of attention, well, he'll do some sort of a decision on the day. So it's one of those things you don't think much of, but obviously in hindsight with what happened it was quite freaky, really. On the day, I was to get the chance to start that day was like a huge honour. At the same time, it's another. You have to see it as another game. You have to kind of put it out of your mind and do the whole thing of what you're going to do on the day. Try and just focus on the match, and kind of I suppose in a way then you think, do you miss out on some of the enjoyment that maybe supporters get, but at the same time to get to play there it was immense. It was really, really huge honour. When the incident happened at the end was just one of those things. It was, you look back and it was, I think, the year, you have reviews of the year, and it was still being shown at Christmas and people still talking about it. It was utterly bizarre. And I think what summed it up for me, a year later, I went up to fish in Gorchin in County Tyrone, and you get your permit in a butcher shop. And the butcher said to me, he heard we were from Louth, and he said, what are you lads doing up in Louth, coming up to spend your money in Tyrone? we're laughing at him, what are you on about? He goes, that referee, that Sludden fella, he's a Tyrone man.
The day-to-day running of any GAA club, including Naomh Malachi, requires the effort and volunteerism of a hard-working and democratically elected committee.
No different than any other club in that there's a lot of work goes on behind the scenes that people don't actually realise takes place. You have the main contact, I suppose, in your club is Eddie here as our secretary. Eddie receives all the emails from county board level, and he's our first point of contact. So myself and Eddie here would have regular contact here by email or by phone or by text message.
Practically every day.
Practically every day. There's always something going on. We have a monthly meeting from which the committee meets, and from that meeting we all kind of leave the meeting with tasks to do over the next 3 or 4 weeks. So you would always have a lot of contact with committee members, and there's always something going on. The everyday running of the club, then, we're very lucky at the minute that we have 3 great workers there on the FOSS scheme, who again I would be in regular contact with in regards to cutting grass, cutting hedges, maintaining the pitch, maintaining the building. It's a lot more going on behind the scenes nowadays than we'll say in the early years when you had racing, when you just had a pitch and the cows ate the grass. Now you have to have lawnmowers, and pitch has to be laned, and everything has to be maintained. So there's a phenomenal amount of work goes on in the background.
Probably for myself, I'd be more in relation to county board, and then any correspondence come back to Joey about the PRO about upcoming events, county board meetings, fixtures, in contact with the selectors and managers about upcoming fixtures, getting that out to the team players. If there's anything coming up regarding the footballers which doesn't suit, need to get that information back to the county board, CCC, to try and make sure that it doesn't clash. Then also any insurance claims or anything like that, I'll be dealing closely then between the chairman here and Mary, the treasurer, to make sure that players are reimbursed, or if money is received from the county board, again in contact with Goward Wills, the insurance officer. So all that type of stuff, and then maybe also involved with underage fixtures and all that, and blitzes and that, dealing with Pierce and Fra.
Naomh Malachi are a fine example of an inclusive club, opening its doors to other groups within the local community.
Well, the football club has progressed over the years from early beginnings when it was just a football team, and it's really progressed now. We have a fine building here in the heart of the local community. It's been used by several different groups in the area, different community groups such as the IFA, the local IFA branch hold meetings here. We have an Irish cultural night on a Thursday night in the winter months. We also have the ladies committee who have a meeting here regular once a month, and the club is generally used for local functions like 21sts. Even at one stage we even had a wedding here. And we also had mass held said here on several different occasions when the church was being renovated. And the local school use it every year for their annual nativity play at Christmas time. So it's much more than just a football club now. It's really a part of the whole community.
One of the groups that uses the Naomh Malachi facilities regularly is the local ladies club, who have been meeting in the club rooms in Courtbane since 1989.
Then we set up the ladies club just to get out and meet different ladies in the parish, and to see could we organise different activities for ourselves once a month.
The first event was a Red Cross demonstration, and there was 29 ladies present at it, and from then on we've been having demonstrations every month.
We had quizzes,
floral demonstrations and make-up artists, and we had bingo. Patty McCarroll was our bingo,
and Genevieve used to be our quiz master in the early start of it.
Carmel Daly is now our quiz master. We have many a good quiz with her, keep our minds active.
Then we had a lot of local girls doing talks. We had Caroline McCarroll on the aloe vera, and Elizabeth Nulty and Caroline Lynch on massaging.
Holistic therapies.
Rita Harvey and Trisha Quigley give us a cake demonstration.
And bread making.
Yeah.
Kay Callan was here many a night too for a good crack and laugh and advice over the years. Beekeeping for local honey by Muriel Gorman recently.
One of the annual events that the Ladies Club are associated with is the mini marathon.
Teresa Rogers that started, and we used to train a couple of nights a week, and then we'd head to the marathon and back home to Coleman's and for a good night's crack and a meal out and exhausted the next day after that. we raised money for all different organisations, charities, and down all different. We tried to do a different one every year.
Raised thousands and thousands of euros for different charities down the years.
For the past number of years, the Ladies Club have also been the primary organisers for the annual Senior Citizens Party.
We organise a Christmas community party every year for the last 5 or 6 years, where all the older people have a night out before Christmas and enjoy the crack. It's always a good night, and a meal and presents from Santi and music and dance. Other activities we go on days out is on Green On, and we go to concerts, Mike Danforth concerts and many's a concert and plays in Castleblaney and different nights out.
The Ladies Club have also run a number of charity events raising much needed funds for worthy organisations.
We have run other cancer nights then for different charities, close to our hearts and the community and things, and one of the important
things we done.
One of the local important things we did was fund the defibrillator in the Malachis at the minute.
The Ladies Club have developed special friendships over the years. Sadly, some of its members are no longer with us.
Genevieve, she just made sure that we all got our photograph, that the members that was here got our photograph taken with them. She got us all one then of the 5 of us that was here down the night.
Helping out on the night for tea after that was for the chapel. The chapel was 125 years. And we helped out tea afterwards.
Yeah, and especially Fred Rogers, who was our chairperson from the very start of the Naomh Malachi Ladies Club, and she'll never be forgotten while we're here. And then of course Kitty. She was a
member too, and always great crack and up to mischief and had great interest in everything that was going on in the club and loved our night out
the 3 of them will never be forgotten. While
and Genevieve was so organised all the time, everything was labelled, and she was a great organiser too, and she's sadly missed by us all.
So they'll be never forgotten while we're here, anyway.
They always want us to keep it going anyway. So
yeah, Fred always said to me, even if we only come down and sat and had a cup of tea, as long as we come down once a month,
keep it going, and still going strong as ever. And new members are always welcome.
The facilities in Courtbane are of such high quality that not one but 2 inter-county teams have used it as their base in recent years.
Probably one of the proudest moments in the club was in 2010 when Louth were preparing for the Leinster final, and the team were coming here to practice due to the good facilities plus the large size of the field, a similar size to Croke Park. So again, we're very proud of that. Plus when Armagh were preparing for the championship All Ireland, again they were practicing here, and which was another bonus to the club.
The club has undertaken a number of fundraising initiatives over their existence.
I can recall a car draw that we had here. A local girl in Crossmaglen won a Volkswagen Fox, if I can remember the car right. We were
going to go for a Passat that time, wasn't it?
We were going to go for a Passat, but we stuck with the Fox.
Yeah.
But that was one of the fundraising. At the time, I remember one of the main fundraisers was that car draw, and we moved on from that then to the gala night in 2009, which incidentally coincided with the 2009 championship win, which made it even more special. I recall a lot of lads that said they wouldn't wear dicky bows, but they all arrived with them on. It was a great night, and some great people involved with fundraising committees.
The Malachis have also become synonymous with their cycling events.
We've had 3 years now of a cycle. We started our first cycle. It was a great night for the club in Dublin. We were very well represented when we had 50 or 60 cyclists, I think, or 100 in total headed up the road on a 100k cycle to Dublin. And
we had
then
the carnival. We had the carnival
in
for
between that.
2 years, and it was a huge success because everybody could remember the old Sheila Carnival that used to be below at McShane's Cross.
The role of GAA club officer has changed dramatically over the past 50 years, and club secretary Edward Laverty fondly remembers a former secretary who devoted so much of his time to the club.
From a young lad going to games filling bottles before the game started, Mickey was there, whether it be raining with a long jacket on him, basically lining out the team, doing at that time all the county board stuff wouldn't be emails, it was letters, it was writing up letters, handwritten letters. Physically you couldn't just ping an email to somebody and get a reply back in 10 minutes. You had to either write a letter and or else go round to the house and verbally get the information you require. But that man did an awful number of years around the club, and it's just that you'd be thinking that if I strive to the calibre of Mickey McShane, you've done a very good job in the history of Naomh Malachi.
Club chairman Joey Hoy reflects on how the club plays a vital role during difficult times within the community.
I'm sure all clubs are the same, but I think especially in recent years there, our club has had quite a difficult time. I know when I was very young here and playing underage with the club, I can remember the passing of Pat Kieran and Peter Boylan. But in more recent times we've been hit really bad with, first off, Declan Linehan was one of our cornerbacks. After that then we had the death of Keith Rogers, and then that was followed by Shane Rooney, which was a very difficult time here mainly for their families, but for the club as a whole. It's great to see the families of those three young lads here annually every year to present cups in their memory at our annual Player of the Year awards, and I hope that the club would give them some kind of comfort knowing that their sons had played here with the Malachis and knowing that they were part of such a great family.
The club facilities have undergone some further improvements since the development of the new dressing rooms in late 1999.
Yeah, one of the projects that I can recall being part of was when Michael Begley, our chairman at the time, and it was 03/04. Michael Begley as chairman, and I think Aidan was the vice chairman. Between the two of them, anyhow, they conjured up a plan here. We were having trouble with leakages in the roof in the old building, and there was a massive undertaking, and a massive job undertaken here to completely redevelop the whole club. The roof was lifted off it, and a whole new roof was put on, and it was raised maybe 7 or 8 feet. And our bar upstairs was extended to double the size of what it is, but it was a great project at the time, and it was really, really well supported by all the locals. A lot of voluntary work that was done on it, and it for a job that would have cost a lot of money, we got it done for a fraction of the price, and it was great community spirit at the time.
And the club have plans for further development over the coming years.
Off the field, we have a few projects that some of them have been started, including our floodlighting for our main pitch. We also have the outline or the perimeter of the grounds here is going to be developed into a walkway for people to be able to use in the summer or even in the winter months for exercising. Hopefully over the next few years we might be able to receive some kind of funding to complete those jobs. That's mainly it. We're very lucky here that we have such fantastic grounds and premises and facilities, and more lucky that we don't have any big debts hanging over us, and that's a key thing to any club nowadays. I think to keep people involved in clubs is that they're not coming with something hanging around their neck of a big loan or anything like that. So from that end of it, going forward, we're fairly safe and sound in that. Just a few developments like that I've mentioned.
Naomh Malachi, a club looking back on a proud history, but equally looking forward to further developing the GA ethos in its community into the future. Congratulations to one and all on your 50th anniversary. Mal Zaboo.